We're on Challah Perek Aleph Mishnah Gimel. We're dedicated to learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Says the last Mishnah, just ended off in the last Mishnah by saying all these things, these 5 species of wheat, spelt, oats, rye, and barley, are chayavim b'chala or Maasrot. They're chayav in chala, and both in chala and Maasrot. We're going to learn the important principle in the next coming Mishnayot, that Maasrot, the chiyuv of Maasrot, starts when there's miruach hakri already in the storehouse. That's when chiyuv Maasrot come. But the chiyuv of chala is much later. It's when you make the dough, gilgula isa. When you make the dough, when you dough the dough, when you knead the dough, not when you knead it, but when it becomes dough, when it becomes a solid mass, that's when you're chayav in chala. We're going to see there's a big difference between the two. Says the Mishnah, Elu, but these following things, chayavim b'chala, upturim min ha-masrot. The chayav in chala, even though they're patur min ha-masrot. We've learned these before. Leket is the collected by the ani, shikha, that is forgotten. Payah, the corner that's left over. Hefker, if somebody says he makes his produce hefker, all of those things are patur from the masrot. They're not chayav in masrot. Why? Let's look at the Bartanur for a second. Dichtiv, these are paturim min ha-masrot. Because it says, Uba Levi in the Psukim, ki ein lo chelek v'nachala imach. The Levi comes and gets his maser, ki ein lo chelek v'nachala imach. Mima sheyesh lecha, so what's chayav in Maasrot? That which belongs to you, ve'ein lo, ata chayav liten lo. So the thing that belongs to me, my produce that I bought with my money, or I grew in my field, it belongs to me and not to him, then I have to give to him from the Maasrot. Yatsu elu, sheyesh lo imach. But the hefker or the leket, the Levi can take like anybody else. So therefore, it's not chayav in Terumot and Maasrot. And this we've learned in previous Mishnayot and Masechtot. So all of those things, leket, shikha, peah, and hefker, chayavin b'chala or p'tumin Maasrot. Maaser rishon shenitlat trumato. And also maaser rishon from which trumat maaser has been taken. They're chayav in chala. And you don't have to take Maasrot. Now the Kahati goes through a whole long thing, which we're not going to go through, to explain that it's even talking about maaser rishon. Shekdimo b'shibolim. You took the Maaser Rishon while it was still B'kri, before you did Miruach HaKri, before it's Chayav in Truma. So you cheated him out of Truma. You cheat the Kohen out of Truma. Nonetheless, if you then there's Maaser Rishon, you take off Trumat Maaser, and afterwards it's Chayav in Chala. Umaaser Sheni ve'Hegdesh shenifdu. Or Maaser and Sheni and Hegdesh. Let's say, for example, I have Maaser Sheni. The Maaser Sheni is not chayav in Maasrot, okay? P'turim min Maasrot. After I redeem it, but then I took that and I transferred the value, the hegdesh, to money that I'm going to take to Yerushalayim. So this produce, I have to, then I go and make it into dough. I have to use it. I have to take off challah. It's worth remembering, like the Grati says. The example is I made it hegdesh when it's still before it's miruach hakri, before it was ever chayav in Terumot and Maasrot. Because then once I did miruach, it was hegdesh, it was patur. So even though I redeem it afterwards. Even though redeem it afterwards, nonetheless it's still patur in Terumot and Maasrot. But chala, he says, I am chayav. Why? Because chiyuva, I'm reading from the Kahati that you don't have in front of you. Chiyuva chal b'shat gilgul ha'isa. Because the chiyuv of chala is gilgul isa. Okay? And by the time I get to gilgul ha'isa, so the chiyuv of a Terumot and Maasrot is when it gets to the kri. When it was in the kri, it was hegdesh. Now later on, it's no hegdesh anymore, but the chiyuv is gone. But for challah, I already redeemed it. I transferred the kedusha to money. So now when I make it into dough, the sha'at gilgul ha'isa, the time of gilgul ha'isa, it's chayav in challah. And therefore, these things, maaser sheni ve'hegdesh shenifdu, are chayav in challah. Furthermore, motar ha'omer. Motar is the leftovers of the korban omer. Let's look at the Bartanura. Omer hayam be'ah mishalosh se'im. They would collect, show the 3 se'ah. That's just a huge amount of grain. Umotziin mimenu isaron sola. You would take on isaron, a 10th, 3 se'in. They would take an isaron. I don't remember exactly how much that was, okay? Which is a much, much smaller amount. Menupa b'shloshes einapa. They would sift it 13 times. Okay, so they would take this huge amount and sift, but they would have obviously a ton of leftovers. Vashar nivde, and the rest would be redeemed. They transfer it. V'nechal l'chol adam. They would sell it for money. Who wants it? And it would become chulin. Okay? Again, v'chaya b'chala u'patur mi-maaser. So it's chayav in chala. Why is it patur mi-maaser? Similarly, because sha'at ha-miruach chaya shel hegdesh, because when they did the miruach, when it became time for the kri, when it was considered ready grain that's ready for use and ready to be ground, it was hegdesh. But when you do the Gilgula Isa, whoever buys it, takes it home, it's chulin, it was already redeemed. It was already bought. Utvua shelo hiviya shlish. Similarly, grain shelo hiviya shlish. Okay, that was picked before it was a third ready. Okay, before it was a third ripe. Okay, we learned that that's not chayav in Terumot and Maasrot. So, but nonetheless, we say that it is chayav in challah. We said it chayav in challah. She'af hi ba'alidei chimutz. I don't really know the qualities of non-ripe produce, but the Bartuner says the Chachamim say it would leaven. It's called lechem, but it's not chayav in Maasrot because in Maasrot ketiv tvuat zarecha, the tvua of your seeding. That which you can grow, you can plant and grow. If you planted it, it would not grow. Okay, so therefore, tvua shelo hiviya shlish is chayav and challah upturim Maasrot. Okay, Rabbi Lezer says no. He argues tvua shelo hiviya shlish ptura min challah. He argues and says it's patur min challah. He has a drush actually. He learns that from the psukim. Dichtiv, as it says, kitrumat goren kein tarimu ota. Like the truma of goren is the same thing. Ota amat truma ena ba'ami tvua shelo hiviya shlish. If you can't bring truma from this tvua, from this grain that is not a third grown, third ready. Af challah ena ba'ami tvua shelo hiviya shlish. So too, challah does not come from tvua shelo hiviya. Stop here. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to contact me.